Hey everyone, I'm Bradford with the Penny Pincher Strategy of Personal Finance. First, make sure you hit that like button so we know to make more videos like it. Today I'm going to walk you through how to fill out IRS Form 1065, which is the informational tax return you're required to file if you have a partnership. When you fill out your own form, please make sure you're referencing the 1065 instructions that I've included in the description down below. A quick caveat before we begin: if you do have a complicated tax situation, please consider consulting with a tax professional to make sure you get your forms filed correctly. It's not worth trying to save a couple $100 now, only to be hit by heavy fines by the IRS because you didn't cross all your T's and dot all your I's. With that out of the way, let's jump on the form. All right, so now that we're in the Form 1065, the first three items you're going to be concerned about are going to be items A, B, and C. So for dealing, what is your principal business activity, as well as what is its associated code number. If you have any questions to this, reference the 1065 instructions all the way down at the bottom. It's going to have a couple pages that break down various business activities and their associated code numbers for the IRS. Then you're going to put the name as well as the location of your business. For this one, since we're mirroring a business that's similar to the YouTube business that Chase and I have, we're just going to call it the YouTube Side Hustle, located at 123 Main Street in Small Town, South Carolina, 12345. Item D, what is your employer identification number? You're going to receive this from the IRS when you first establish your business. Item E, when was the date that the business started? For this example, we're going to say it's January 1st of 2021. Item F, total assets. The majority of people do not have to worry about this and filling that in, but we will address whether or not you do have to fill that out on page 2 of the 1065. Next item is going to be G, check the applicable boxes. Since this is going to be the first return by the YouTube Side Hustle business for the previous tax year, you'll select that. If this is the second or third year you're filing, you shouldn't have anything checked in here. 2 is final return. Is this the final return you're ever filing? You're shutting down the business, you're no longer going to be operating. Name change, address change, amended return. If any of those apply to you, you'll check those boxes. Item H, check the accounting method. The majority of people are going to use cash accounting method as opposed to accrual. The big difference here is cash refers to when money is actually deposited or withdrawn from your bank account, whereas accrual depends on when you actually receive or you send an invoice. It doesn't matter when the money actually transits into or out of your account. So the majority of people here will check cash. Item I, check the number of Schedule K-1s. You have to have one for each person that is a member of your partnership. For this example, we're just going to say there's 2 partners. J, this section also relates back to F. If you don't have to fill out F, you're not going to have to attach Schedule C or M3. We'll address that on page 2, as I mentioned previously. Item K, check if the partnership. Majority of people don't have to worry about these. Now jumping into the actual brackets of 1 and onward. So gross receipt and sales. How much money did you make for the past year? For this example, we're going to say the YouTuber for the YouTube Side Hustle business was advertised and monetized partly through the year, and they made $1,000 off of Google AdSense. Returns and allowances, not really applicable to most people unless you have a retail business and customers are able to make returns. Subtract 1B from 1A, and that's going to be the balance. And then after that, go to 2, the cost of goods sold. This example, paid for their internet, bought a new camera, lighting, microphone, a couple other miscellaneous items. Then you're going to subtract the cost of goods sold from your balance. So in this example for line 3, this is going to be your gross profit. In this example, operate it at a net loss. 4, 5, 6, 7, not going to be applicable to most people, but just kind of touching on them. Ordinary income or loss from other partnerships. Net farm profit, if you're not a farm, you don't care. Net gain or loss from Form 4797. If you don't know what that is, it's not going to be applicable. And then other income or loss. All of these will be explained in the 1065 instructions, so make sure you read through that to see if they do actually apply to you. If they don't, which they shouldn't to the majority of people, you'll just take line 3 and drop it into line 8. Now for this example, none of these deductions in lines 9 through 21 are going to apply, but touching on them quickly. If you have any sort of employees, 9 will be applicable. Guaranteed payments to partners, that's payments that are going to be given to a partner regardless on how the business performs, so not applicable to the majority of people. Repairs and maintenance on properties, bad debts, so if you have a debt that you know you're never going to get paid for, you can write it off here. Rent, if you're working out of your home, it's not applicable. There are the small like at-home office deductions, but that's going to be on your personal tax return, not on a business tax return. This only applies if you're like renting out an actual business space outside of your home. Taxes and licenses, say you're a realtor, you have to renew your realtor license. Interest, this is non-real estate related interest. Say you took out a loan to buy some machinery, that would go in this section. Depreciation, if you do deal with depreciation, I'd recommend you talk to a tax professional instead of trying to tackle it on your own because things can get really murky really fast. Depletion, retirement plans, this is separate from your personal retirement plan. This is like if you have a 401k for employees. Employee benefits like medical, dental, other deductions, which are listed in the 1065 instructions. So you'll add all those up, they'll go in section 21. You'll subtract 21 from line 8, and that's going to give you 22. So if you don't, none of these apply, you'll just take 8, bring it down to section 22. All right, so you have other tax payments. Again, the majority of these are not going to be applicable. Reference the instructions so you understand if they do or not. Sign here. This is just to be a member of your business that's signing this. Now, for the paid preparer use only, this is like if you have a CPA, but if that's the case, you're probably not watching this video. All right, moving down to the next section for Schedule B. So one, majority of people are going to be selecting domestic general partnership, but select the other ones that are applicable. If you do have a foreign partnership, again, I would recommend you talk to a CPA because that's where things get a lot more complicated. Now moving on down here, 2A. At the end of the tax year, this is A is basically, did you have any sort of foreign partners? So we're going to check no. B, a lot of people are going to check yes for. It's saying, did any individual have 50% or more of the profit loss or the capital gains of the partnership? So if it's just 2 people that split the business 50-50, yes. Each of those persons has 50% or more ownership of the business, so you will select yes. 3A and B is basically talking about, did you have foreign entities, foreign corporations, partnerships, individuals, as well as did you have any sort of just entity that owned 20% or more? So for B, did your partnership own a percentage of another business? It's going to be no for both of these. Continuing down here. 4A, this is what I'm going to be referring to back on the first page where it dealt with item F. Did you have to have your assets accounted for? So basically you're going to go through here. Did the total receipts for the tax year, is it less than $250,000? Are your assets less than $1 million? Do you have Schedule K-1s filed to or issued to each of the partners? And then is the partnership is not required to file M3? If all of these things apply, you're going to check yes. So then you don't have to worry about M3, M1, M2, Schedule L, and item F on the front page of the 1065. So it's probably going to be yes for the majority of people filling this out. Continuing down here, with the rest of these should be no, but is the partnership publicly traded? Most likely not. During the tax year, did you have any partnership debt canceled? Most likely not. The one kind of exception here that is not going to be included in forgiven debt is if you were part of the Paycheck Protection Program. Make sure you filled everything out correctly, and if you did, that is not going to be considered forgiven debt. It's just not going to be included in your taxes. 7, 8, 9, 10A, 10B, as well as 10C is going to be no for the majority of people here. 11, did you have any sort of property that was distributed? If you're not into real estate, it's not going to be applicable. Continuing, 12, did you distribute any tenancy in common or other undivided interest in partnership property? If you're not invested in property, you don't really care. Continuing down here, it's going to be no for the majority of these items. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, coming all the way down here. Basically, all of these things should be a no for the majority of people filling out a 1065. If it's just a simple business between you and another, or maybe a couple other people, and you're just working basic things, you're not investing in real estate, you don't have a complicated tax situation, it should be no for all these items for Schedule B. Now continuing down here, so the designation of a partnership representative, more likely than not, it's just gonna be one of the actual partners of the partnership is filling this out. So you're just gonna put the name of the partnership representative, where that person lives, and then if it's an entity, so like you're designating another partnership or an LLC to stand in for you, then you'd put that information down here. Continuing on to Schedule K. So you're gonna have the K1s, which are given to each member of the partnership, but then Schedule K is basically aggregating all that information together. So long as you were basically filling in your form similar to how I am here, you're basically gonna be able to drag what your net profit, or sorry, your gross revenue or loss was on the first page, and that's gonna come down here. So in this example, it was $1,000 as a loss. That's gonna go on item 1. Continuing down here, none of these other items should really be filled in. A lot of these deal with real estate. You have capital gains, whether it's short-term or long-term, collectibles, which also fall into a separate category of capital gains. It shouldn't be filled in for the majority of people here. If you are filling in these items, I would recommend having to talk to talking to a tax professional. Continuing down here, deductions. A lot of this is not going to be applicable for the majority of people here. So you're basically going to take item 1 at the top of the page and drop it down into 14 alpha, which is going to be the net earnings or loss for the self-employment. In this situation, it's going to be negative $1,000 for the partnership as a whole. Credits, a lot of this deals with real estate, so like low income housing credit, qualified rehabilitation expenditures if you're not invested in real estate. All the 15 items are not going to apply. International transactions, so long as you're not sending money overseas, won't be an issue. Alternative minimum tax, not applicable to the majority of people. And then other information is going to be like tax exempt interest, non-deductible expenses, investment expenses, or if you're paying foreign taxes, not going to be applicable to the majority of people filling out the 1065. Continuing down here onto the next page. So basically, so long as you check to that box in the beginning for 2 Bravo, this is going to be the last section that you're actually filling out for the 1065. So the net income or loss, you're basically just dragging down that again. And for this one, it was the negative $1,000. You're going to fill in 1. And then for here, for 2, for the analysis of net income or loss, how was that money actually divided? Was it just a total loss or a total gain for just the members? If you only have a general partnership, then you're only going to fill in this section right here, and you're basically taking 1 and dropping it in under individual active for general partners. Now, if you have some limited partners, you'll divide it up in terms of how is that money being distributed among your partnership. And at that point, you're basically done with the 1065. You don't have to worry about Schedule L, balance sheets books. You don't have to worry about Schedule M1, M2. And at that point, you're going to be done with the 1065. Now at this point, congratulations, you have filled out your 1065 in its entirety, but this doesn't mean you're done when it comes to your partnership tax return. You also are going to fill out Schedule B-1, which is basically identifying who are each of the individual members of your partnership, what is their social security number, where do they live. That part's pretty simple and self-explanatory to fill out. You're just giving the information for the members of your partnership. Now the next form that you're going to need to fill out and make sure you're issuing to each member of your partnership is going to be the Schedule K-1, and that's breaking down their share of the expenses and the revenue from the business. Now if you're interested in getting the walkthrough on that video, please check that out right here. I want to thank you for joining me today, and until next time, just remember to pinch a little.